Visualize with me for a second. You're mid-conversation and you feel something happen. They say something and you don't agree. Not fully, but there's a pause where your real response is there. It's clear enough and it's almost ready to come out. And then you move it. You shift what it actually means and you say something adjacent to it. It's not wrong, it's just adjusted. It's softer, it's more usable to them, and it lands better with that person that you're talking to. They nod and the moment keeps moving like nothing was ever wrong or ever at risk. And you never actually think about that exact moment ever again. But something did get left behind there. I'll point that out to you right now. Some part of you just disappeared after that conversation, and you never ever will realize until it's too late. You can feel it if you stay in that conversation for half a second longer than usual, and there is some faint aftertaste to it, like you skipped something and your body noticed before your mind did. But it's so small, and it's small enough to ignore, so you ignore it. There's no choice for you. Your brain simply decides it's not important enough for you to fixate on. You get better at that too. Your brain realizes it's just easier to ignore these things, and it's not in a calculated or mathematical or educational way. You just start noticing which version of you moves through life and things easier, which tone keeps people engaged, and which reactions don't slow everything down. You lean towards those instead of the authentic, real version of yourself. Conversations feel much cleaner. You don't have to explain yourself as much, and people don't get confused by you at all anymore. It feels like you finally figured something out to making everyone love you, and things start to work. They click, your life starts getting a bit better. You get that promotion at work. I don't know, you start making relationships with people, you start getting new friends, talking to more people, and you're happier, you're more fulfilled. It feels like people respond to you faster and you get taken much more seriously. Doors open in ways that feel earned in a slight way. It feels like you actually made yourself get to this position to earn those doors that open, and there's no friction to it. You're not forcing anything, you're just easier to receive to people, and that matters much more than anyone actually admits. There is a moment later though. It's not all sunshine and rainbows, yet it's always later. Later is the killer. Later is the issue with absolutely almost everything in life. Someone says something to you, it's something good, it's a compliment, it's recognition, maybe even it's something you've been working towards for a while, and you hear it, you understand it, and you can see why they're saying it to you. You feel proud of the work you actually did, yet it doesn't quite fully land. It doesn't hit the way you expect it to. It doesn't feel like a real compliment. It hits somewhere just in front of you, it doesn't hit the soul, it just hits the chest. And you nod and you say thank you and you move on with your life. You may even believe them to an extent. But again, there's this quiet gap between that chest and that soul. It's as if they're describing something accurate but isn't actually connected to anything that you feel like is yourself. And you don't stop there either, because everything else is still working. You keep going and you refine it without calling it refinement. You stop bringing certain things with you to conversations, and the parts that slow the conversations down, you completely eliminate. The parts that make people hesitate to talk to you, you get rid of. The things that just don't translate cleanly, you translate them to make them translate cleanly. I think I just said translate like 6 times. And it's not that you fully delete them, it's just the fact that you don't use them where it matters. But eventually, where it matters starts to expand until it's most places, until it's almost all the time, and then it is all the time. It moves just like that, just like the snap of the fingers. It goes from just utility and, okay, I'll keep it in the back of my mind, and it gets to the point where you'll never use those parts of you again. You start to feel like a more consistent person, per se. People start to understand you more quickly, you feel more organized, and they don't need time to figure you out as a person. You're stable in the sense that you're present, and stability gets rewarded just as presence does. So your life starts forming around that presence and stability. And it isn't dramatically, it's just gradually and slowly and slowly and slowly, the people you meet start to see you differently, and the opportunities that come through that version of you start to feel different to the ones that the old you would ever have accepted. It all builds quietly, just as it's supposed to, and from the outside it just looks full, it looks correct, it looks right. There's nothing wrong with it from the outside. But then there are these moments, and they don't last long, but they last. You're alone, everything's quiet, and nobody's asking anything of you. No one's reflecting anything back at you, and for a second there's nothing to perform. There's nobody to perform for. It's just you alone with your thoughts, and it feels unfamiliar. It doesn't feel wrong, it doesn't feel incorrect per se, but it just feels unclear, like you've been speaking a language all day that isn't the language that you think in. You don't stay there long because you want to go back. You want to go back to the easy life, the version that is already built, and the version that knows how to move and converse with people and knows how to respond. It knows how to keep life moving like cogs. It's just like lubricant in a machine. But smooth is addictive. That's kind of the issue with smooth life. The part that no one will tell you is that if you build your life on someone that is not fully you, it doesn't just stop you from succeeding, it just changes what that success feels like in your life. You will still get things and you will still move forward and you will still become someone that people may recognize, but it never settles in your mind properly. It never feels like it closes the loop, and it feels like just eating something that looks right, tastes fine, but never fills your stomach. So you just assume that you need to eat more of it. You assume that a full stomach is the only thing you're chasing with this food that you're eating. Eventually, you stop thinking this is mine and you think this isn't enough. So you go further and further and you double down on what is already working. You become a sharper, more precise, more aligned with that fake version of yourself that gets results. And the results keep coming. It's not your fault that you want to keep going if the results keep proving to you that it's successful. But it makes it so much harder to question anything when you are so blinded by the success. Because what are you supposed to say? Everything is going well. What are you meant to argue with? But something in your mind just continues to repeat, and you say the right things at the right time and you feel nothing behind them. You get to look at what you wanted and it doesn't register the way you ever expected it to. You look at your life and it makes sense, but it feels like it doesn't belong to you in a way that you cannot explain without sounding ungrateful. It's sort of an imposter syndrome experience. That pattern will never break on its own. It just gets buried under more and more things, more and more material items that you believed would once make you happy, that you believed would once make you successful. Things that you believed should have fixed your life. And at some point, if you allow yourself to stay in that quiet zone a little bit longer than usual, the thought shows up again. It doesn't show up extremely loud. It doesn't just ruin your mind. It doesn't make you go crazy at all. It's just enough to make you start doubting yourself. If all of this stopped, if the people, the structure, the version of you that keeps everything moving along disappeared, what would actually be left in your life? However, you may choose not to answer it, because answering it would require you to sit in something that doesn't come with a clear next step. It doesn't come with any sort of strategy, and it doesn't come with any guarantee that what replaces it will work at all in the same way. Just launched my headphone. So you move again, and you move back to the thing that works. You keep lubricating the same machine. You keep that cog spinning. I can't think of any metaphors right now. Fuck. Being a fake person will never break your life. What it will do is build a life. And that is the complete problem with being a fake person. Because now you are standing inside something that looks like it may belong to you, but you can't even step fully into it. And it's not because you are incapable to fill that position, but simply because you were never there when that position was built.